Finally getting around to doing this video, I think.
We'll see.
Dennis is sleeping, Lee's at his grandparents' house, and we are gonna do a DVC video.
And these are Joe's notes.
I have lots of notes.
Joe has lots of notes. Keep that in mind, which means I may just be sitting here for emotional support.
DVC.
DVC.
Is it worth it? Can't tell you.
That's a big question.
Can't tell you.
Yeah, seriously.
No. Ask somebody, is a $70,000 car worth it? And you go ask somebody, and they'll say yes. And you ask somebody else, and they'll say no. And somebody else, and they'll go, eh. And everything is worth something different to everybody else. So I am not going to tell you whether anything is worth it or not, because that's really open to a lot of your interpretation, because worth is also defined by more than just finances. Worth is saying, oh, I don't have to worry about something, or oh, safety is worth something. How much is a safe car worth to you? To some people it's not worth anything because they don't care as much. Some people it's worth $1 billion because safety is everything to them.
Or a luxurious car
Right.
is important to them. Comfort is more important.
Right. All these things impact worth, and for every single person those variables are all different. So all we can tell you is the facts about being in DVC, what DVC is, what it isn't, what some of the pros and cons of it are in terms of like flexibility. You can determine how much each one of these things is worth to you, and then that's up to you to determine whether or not Disney Vacation Club is worth doing. That makes sense?
Yes.
All right. So let's see, how did I want to start this? What is DVC like? What is DVC?
So we said it's Disney Vacation Club.
Ignore that. It's a timeshare.
Yeah.
Disney, flat out, Disney Vacation Club is a timeshare. It's not guaranteed weeks any time of the year. It's not at the 4th week of March every year at this hotel.
The 4th floor, this room.
Yep.
People always say that. They're like, which room did you get? And we're like, oh no, you don't get a room. Yeah.
Right. You buy a certain number of points. These points can be used in so many different ways. It becomes like, do you ever see, what's it, A Beautiful Mind? All the chalkboard on the wall?
Yeah.
If you wanted to really look at DVC, you could really beautiful mind that, because there is, what, 13 different resorts?
And it's always
each
changing.
resort, each room is a different number of points. On top of that, throw in 7 seasons. DVC is broken up into seasons, so point values for the same room at the same resort are different depending on which of the 7 seasons you go into. On top of that, your studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 10-person tree houses. Now you go into views. Do you want a standard view, preferred view, garden view, theme park view, all these different kinds of views. So literally you could make your points go really nowhere. You could take, I'm just gonna make up a number here, 500 points, and you could make them into a very short vacation, or you could make them into a very long vacation, all depending on how you decide to use them, where you decide to use them, and the type of room you decide to use. That's really complicated. It's not very simple. Let's say you always go during your school spring vacation, and you can find on the calendar where that is. I'm gonna go during that week every year. Well, if you decide to stay at Bay Lake, it's this many points. If you decide to stay at Boardwalk, it's this many points. Saratoga Springs, it's this many points. I mean,
and to buy for a certain resort can be different when you're buying the points, right?
We'll get into that later.
There's so much, guys. There's so much we have to cover.
And this is like information overload in this video. It's just, and I'm trying to make it like somewhat fun, but it's a lot of information.
A lot to consider. It's a big investment, and that's why we are a little hesitant. You know, even with everything we share, please, 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 just think of your own budget and your own finances, and make sure it's a smart decision for you. Not only is it worth it, but is it a smart decision?
Now more into what DVC is.
Yeah.
DVCs are typically broken up into studios, which are like your standard hotel rooms with a little bit more of a perk. Like there's
like a
we've
bar,
never stayed in
like
the
a
studio.
wet bar almost, right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because we've
Did
never
your
stayed in the
parents
studio.
stay
They
there?
did, and I don't remember it.
You can't cook like anything, I don't think.
Yeah, they might have, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that.
Again.
I don't know about it.
Look into that.
But where we've decided, at least our sweet spot, and why we've decided buying into the DVC is the 1-bedroom suites. 1-bedroom suites are basically a master bedroom with its own separate bathroom. Well, I guess, I don't know if this is across the board, but we stay at Bay Lake Tower.
Right.
And that's the only place we've stayed. You get your own master bedroom with its own master bathroom, with also has a tub, a shower, 2 sinks. And then on top of that, you have a separate room, which is like a regular hotel room, but big living room and kitchen. A fold-out sofa where people can sleep. You have a TV in there, so both rooms have TVs. You have a kitchen with a full stove, full refrigerator, microwave, oven, microwave
Lots
hand
of
oven.
cabinetry with quite a bit
utensils,
of
pots, pans. forks, spoons, washing machine, dryer, laundry detergent, all in your room. For people like us who travel with a small child right now, or now will be 2 small children, we loved having our own hotel room away from the kids, because our kids, and I don't know about everybody else's kids, but our kids go to bed early. So like some nights Lee was going to bed at 7 o'clock at night. And in a hotel room, one, that makes it really difficult for us, because you don't want to go to bed at 7 o'clock at night, you're on vacation. We wanted to be out on our balcony, enjoying each other's company, because I work a lot, and we don't get to spend a lot of time together when we're at home to begin with. That was a big part of it for us too, is that we have our own area. We can get ready in the morning, completely shower, everything while Lee was still sleeping. And that worked amazing the first couple of trips, because we'd be all up and showered by the time Lee woke up, so we could do breakfast. And then the meals are a big part of it.
Yes.
You can save a lot of money on theme park food, because theme park food is expensive. I mean, right now, I think it's like $13 or $14 just to get a burger and fries. You can use Amazon Prime Now or Garden Grocer or any of these grocery delivery services, have them delivered to your hotel, and you can make your own meals. So like we can make chicken nuggets. Oh, we were paying like $7, and we could have chicken nuggets 7 times, $1 a meal. And then you also have 2 and 3 bedroom and bigger type things.
But can I just chime in? Everything that Joe just mentioned about our family, that he explained is why it was worth it. If we were to flip it, if you're a family that you have heavy sleepers, you're just gonna go all out, even with young kids. They're gonna sleep in their strollers.
Yep.
You're not gonna use the kitchen. You're not worried about sharing a room. You co-sleep. Your babies sleep fine with you in the room, all that. Then maybe a 1 bedroom or even DVC isn't a smart choice for you.
Exactly. That's a great example. I learned that a lot when me and Lee went this trip to Pop Century. It was a lot more difficult being in that Pop Century hotel room than it was when we stayed DVC. Lee made me go to bed every night when he went to bed.
And he's a light sleeper.
He's a light sleeper.
Really light sleeper.
And he also would just stare at me until I went, so then I would hide under the blankets, and I would be like, all right, I'm gonna go out when he falls asleep. And I'd fall asleep myself, and I'd be like, it'd be an hour later, I'd be like, oh, I guess I should just go to bed now, because now it's 10:30.
And because of your dietary restrictions, that was very difficult too.
Yeah, because I'm gluten-free, and so like trying to make stuff at Pop Century was near impossible, whereas when we go to Bay Lake Tower, I can have gluten-free, like a lot of gluten-free stuff is frozen or refrigerated, and so I can have it and cook it, and it's very easy. It was not easy at Pop Century. While Ashley comes back, one thing about living in New Hampshire is especially in January of primary season, is people are constantly knocking on our door to try to talk to us about who to vote for. So kind of cool being the first in the nation primary, but I mean, after a while, it's just like, okay.
I had another thought with what you were saying again about what's worth it and what's not. DVC was not worth it for us before kids. People always ask us, why are you not at Disney Vacation Club? Again, talking about that previous family, we didn't have kids. We were fine staying in the lowest value resort. We barely slept there.
I never had problems sleeping at Pop Century.
You never had problems before sleeping there.
We didn't spend a lot of time in the pools.
So it just didn't make sense at that time.
Although, looking back in retrospect, the prices of DVC were a lot lower a long time ago. So we could have probably gotten in at a lower upfront cost if we bought in a long time ago and also gotten use of it.
Yeah.
If you still feel interested in DVC, the next thing you're gonna want to do is look into buying. And there's a whole new slew of information when it comes to buying.
More options.
Yes. The first thing is to understand some key terms that are involved in the Disney Vacation Club. The first being your use year. And this is where you see people get really confused and hung up a lot, especially in forums that we visited. People don't understand what a use year is. You get a certain number of points every year. So let's say you buy 100 Disney Vacation Club points. Every year you get 100 points, and you have to use them that year or bank them to the following year. And you can only bank them to one time, to 1 year. You can't bank them and continue banking them and then have 700 points to use 1 year. On the flip side, you can borrow. So let's say you wanted to go in the year 2023. You decided, I'm gonna go on a big vacation in the year 2023. In 2022, you can bank those points into 2023. And then in 2023, when that time comes, you'll have 2 years worth of points. And then you can also borrow from 2024. So you have 3 years worth of points. Now, for people who don't go to Disney a lot, that might be really good. Let's say you only want to use 150 points, but you want to go every 3 years. Well, then you just buy 50 points, and if you bank and borrow properly, every 3 years you'll have 150 points. So depending on how often you go, you don't necessarily have to go every year to make that worth it. But use year is where it gets confusing, because every year you get 100 points, but your use year is a month name. So your use year, let's say, is February, which is our use year. That means we don't get our points in 2021 until February 2021. And they expire the last day of January 2022. Our 2021 points do. it can get really confusing if you have like an August use year and you're like, okay, in August of 2021 is when I get 2021's points. So you're like, oh, I'm going on a July 2021 trip. We got to use 2020 points or borrow from 2021. Very confusing. I don't know if that made sense. Use year is very important because if you don't fully understand your use year, you can lose points because you either don't have enough to take your vacation or you forget to bank them to the following year and they expire. There's a deadline on when you can bank them. So let's say your 2021 points expire December 31st, 2021, just because it makes it easier. Well, on December 30th, if you haven't used those points yet, you're out of luck. You can't bank them. You've already missed your banking deadline. I don't know when exactly it is. It's a few months before the end of your use year. Remember, your use year, not calendar year, your use year. The next two terms you'll want to know are your upfront cost, basically, and your annual dues. The way Disney Vacation Club works is you pay a very large sum of money to buy into the Disney Vacation Club. And then every year you pay dues based off the number of points you have and your resort. There's a certain formula, like you pay $5.97 per point every year. So if you have 100 points, $597 a year. Your dues, your price per point, is not locked in. And it's kind of willy-nilly on how it goes. Some years they go up 2%, some years they go up 4%, some years they go up 6%, and it's not even the same for every resort. Like this year, Bay Lake Tower only went up like 2%, but other resorts went up like 6 or 7, so we were happy. Bay Lake Tower has some of the lowest maintenance fees, so.
Yeah, we were even saying, you were just saying Riviera, which is brand new, as like really
They're over $1 a point more, which, okay, it doesn't sound like much, but let's say you want to have 300 vacation points, that's $300 more a year. I don't know what to do with my hands. Who's that? Will Ferrell in something.
I feel like you're right. Is it
Anchorman?
That's what I was gonna go. Yeah. Next on the list, what do we got?
How many points to buy?
Oh, guys!
I think we just told you that's just like a loaded question because where you want to stay may change. So you can use your points to stay at different resorts. We own a Bay Lake Tower. Let's say we want to stay at Grand Floridian next year.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, our 1 week that we usually spend at Bay Lake Tower may cost way more or way less at Grand Floridian. Part number 3, I'm going into like, I haven't listed in parts. So part 1 was key terms, part 2 was how many points to buy, part 3.
Once upon a time, there was a new land at Hollywood Studios called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
And we forgot something. So, as we got up and walked away, I remembered one of the key things I wanted to talk about was, we've talked all about points. We never really tell you, what do these points get you? Like, what does 200 points get you? We talked about how many different ways it can, like, you can get your points to be either worth a lot or worth a little, right? So I've put together a list of what 200 points will get you. Now this would be approximately $20,000 on the resale market if you bought at Saratoga Springs, which is about $100 a point. Now all these resorts, obviously you'd have to be able to book at a 7-month window. Some of these may or may not even be available at the 7-month window, but what can you get for 200 points? Let's start at Animal Kingdom. You can get a studio for 15 nights for 200 points, and that'd be a standard view. Or you could get a 1-bedroom for 6 nights and with a Savannah view. So that's Animal Kingdom. That's what 200 points gets you, 20 grand upfront cost buying at Saratoga. Bay Lake Tower, you could get 5 nights in a 1-bedroom with a Magic Kingdom view, or 9 nights in a studio with a Magic Kingdom view. Or if you were trying to stretch your points, instead of 9 nights in a studio, you could get 12 points in a studio with a standard view. Those book up really quick, there's not many of them. Typically at Bay Lake Tower, if you don't book right away, you're getting lake view, because the theme park rooms fill up fast and the standard rooms fill up fast. But let's say you want to go all out. Remember we said how little you can get? You can get 2 nights with your 200 points in a 3-bedroom suite with a lake view. And you only get like 1 1/4 nights if you were to try to do a theme park view with a 3-bedroom. So, I mean, you would need, if you were gonna do those 3-bedroom suites, you would need like 1,000 points to get like a week. So let's say we were to go to the Grand Floridian, you could get 5 nights in a 1-bedroom, or 10 nights in a studio. Just examples for studios. Animal Kingdom, 15 nights. Bay Lake Tower, either 9 or 12 nights depending on the view you got. Grand Floridian, 10 nights. And Saratoga Springs would get you 14 nights. All studios, for the most part, standard view. 1.5 was the lowest, and 15 nights was the highest I was able to find. So that's a pretty big swing.
Yeah.
15 nights, studio Animal Kingdom, 1.5 nights, 3-bedroom, Magic Kingdom view at Bay Lake Tower.
Worth it to you?
Exactly, if it's worth it to you, how are you staying? But I thought that was important. We keep talking about all these points and we never really tell you what those points get you. You're like, okay, I get it, 200 points, but what does 200 points get me?
What does that even mean? Yeah.
Part 2 is how many points to buy. Part 3, this is a big one. This is the biggest one. The biggest one.
Listen up.
Where do you buy? Do you buy direct, which means you buy directly from the Walt Disney Company or Disney Vacation Club, whatever legally owns it, I guess. Or do you buy on the resale market? So one thing we haven't talked about yet is you can buy and sell these contracts like cars or like houses that you own or whatever. Nice. It's like property, you own it. If you bought it and after 10 years it's not working, you can resell it. Who knows what the market will be for reselling.
Right.
But so far, it has gone like this. Baby's up.
Yes.
Where were we? Oh.
I have a burrito.
A baby burrito. Dennis, you interrupted the most important part of this entire conversation, which was, do you buy direct or do you buy resale? This can literally save you or cost you, depending on how you look at it, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Huge differences in sums of money. Like we're talking big differences. We're talking $50,000 difference in price. When you buy directly from Disney, you get certain benefits, perks, that you do not get when you buy on the resale market. Now, it's up to you to determine if those perks are worth the additional cost. And I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. I don't know, maybe I can bullet these across the screen or something like that, but probably not.
In the 2000s in your high school and you're like, shoo,
right.
Shoo.
Everything's slide in.
You're like, I'm so cool.
Well, this is the worst present. Like if you did one of those in like the business world, you'd be like laughed out of the room.
But you thought that you were awesome when you
Yeah, you did. You were like, and I thought like that's what presentations were like, and like, and I'm sure they are in some like sales type presentations.
Right.
But like, in my work, if I were to do that, people would be like, get out! What are you doing?
All right, back on track.
Back on track. I'm gonna give an example of 140 points at Bay Lake Tower. Right now, if you were to buy 140 points at Bay Lake Tower, there would be $235 a point directly from Disney. It would be $145 a point ish on the resale market. Now remember, everybody has different asks. So you might get them as low as 140. You might find some people selling them for 155. It's up to you to kind of look, if you're looking on the resale market, there's gotta be at least 30 different places that resell DVC contracts. Monitor them. Look at which one, keep an eye out. Don't rush into it. Sometimes they go down, sometimes they go up. The difference in price for this 140 points, the difference of $90 a point, is literally almost $13,000 for just 140 points. Directly from Disney, you'd be paying approximately $33,000. And on the resale market, you'd be paying approximately $20,000. That's a huge difference in price and cost. Literally $33,000 versus $20,000. Now, what are these perks you get from buying direct from Disney? Well, issue here is it kind of changes all the time. Disney's constantly adding more perks or taking away perks from resale members to try to incentivize people to buy directly from Disney because they don't want you buying on the resale market. As an owner, it's great that there's a resale market because if you're spending $40,000 on this, that's not necessarily a sunk cost. You may be able to resell that down the road for $30,000 or $50,000. I'm sure the ones we bought at Bay Lake Tower, they probably made money on those. I mean, you take away real estate commissions and taxes and all that. I mean, they probably didn't make out too poorly on that. Contracts end at a certain time, so the lot closer you get to this expiration date of these contracts, they're probably going to start going down in value. But right now, they've only gone up. What are the current benefits for direct? One, a DVC Lounge at Epcot. Epcot has a DVC Lounge with free snacks and drinks. They have like those Coke Freestyle machines. And again, remember, these can change at any minute. So if you're watching this video 6 months from now, this may not exist.
Yes.
They're not guaranteed in your contract anywhere. These are just perks.
Again, not worth $10,000, but I really like it.
I mean, I think a soda's worth $10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, just one Coca-Cola alone is, exactly. See, when we talk about worth. So if you see us go to the DVC Lounge sometimes, it's we're like, you know what?
Using our money.
I'm going to get my money's worth for my contract. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get my Coca-Cola and the snacks only come around every so often though, so that kind of annoys me. Like, we've been in there for a half hour before and snack cart doesn't come around. I'm like, you know how much I paid for this? You can bring me a Cheez-It.
Start getting a little too.
They're getting a little entitled. So DVC Lounge, and it's only at Epcot right now. It's above Figment. Next one would be a discount on annual passes. There's a gold annual pass that is limited to Florida residents, but you can also buy it if you're DVC. Now this may not, again, this is a worth thing that may not be worth it to everybody, because maybe annual passes are something you would never consider because you only go once a year or every other year or whatever. On the flip side, for people like us who go multiple times in a year, you can save hundreds, many hundreds of dollars each year on this discounted gold annual pass. It does have some blackout dates around Christmas currently and Easter every year, but we don't go those times of the year. So for us, save like $200 or I don't know, whatever it is. I'll try to put it like right here. How much is it right now? I don't know. That's the current difference between a regular annual pass and a DVC Gold annual pass or Florida resident Gold annual pass. You have a family of 6 or a family of 5 or a family of 4, that can really add up.
Yeah.
Another one is Moonlight Magic. Moonlight Magic is a special after hours event that is held at the theme parks every so often, where they give away free dinner. The park is limited to a certain number of guests, and you're just gonna get to go and do Animal Kingdom and ride Flights of Passage over and over again and eat. They give you food vouchers, and I think there's some free snacks along the way. We've never gotten to do it.
It's been about 2 years we've been DVC and we haven't yet been able to.
We've had one trip overlap with it and we just didn't. The next one, you can use your DVC points at any DVC resort. Wait a minute, that's new. Recently,
I was like, what?
Recently, Disney limited all DVC resales to be able to use at only the DVC resorts prior to Riviera. So if you buy at Bay Lake Tower tomorrow, you will never be able to use those points at Riviera
or any future
resort unless you buy directly from Disney. But you can still use them at Grand Floridian, Copper Creek, Old Key West, Saratoga Springs, Beach Club, Boardwalk, all those. I was pretty surprised by that one. I thought that was kind of a unique or unexpected. Maybe people were expecting it, I wasn't. I'm not really in the loop. But I thought that was an interesting limitation. The next one is you can use your DVC points on RCI and cruises. That's a huge, not good use of your points. Do not do it. Don't do it. This is a perk that I would call not a perk, because if the exchange rate on using your points in RCI or the cruise lines, for the most part, maybe there's some exceptions on RCI, but for cruises especially, it's really, really bad exchange rate. Your better option would be to find somebody who wants to use your DVC points. You can use a website like David's or DVC rental store, or maybe that's the same place, I don't know.
Okay. Use
them as a middleman to find somebody who wants your points. They pay like $17 a point to David's. David's then pays you $15 a point. They take a $2 off the top commission, or these are approximate numbers. And now you book it for that person and you get the cash. Then you take that cash, turn it into the cruise, and you have a bunch of cash left over because the exchange rate is so bad that by renting out your points to somebody else, you end up with a much better deal. And if that's a lot of work to you and you're like, I just don't want to go through renting it out like that, it's just a stress, a headache, and maybe that is a perk to you. Again, for some people, time, effort is all worth something to them. Those are the big ones. Sure, there's some other ones out there. I'm not really sure what they are. One perk of DVC, which we didn't mention, that is for both direct and resale, is free parking. So now Disney does charge for parking at their resorts. DVC members, when staying on points, I know that part for a fact, you do not have to pay for parking. So if you decide to buy resale, there's one thing you really need to look at when looking at the contracts, and that is your contract stripped? If your contract is stripped, that means the person has borrowed next year's points already and or used this year's points already. So like, let's say it was today, January 29th. Sorry, this is coming up probably way later. So if I buy points with a January use year, that means that people just got their points for this year, right? Well, if they've already used those points for this year, well then that's a loss for you. You could have gone this year, so that contract should be worth less to you to buy it. You're missing out on a year's worth of points. You could see on the same website, 2 people selling 200-point contracts with January use years, and one selling them for $150 a point, one selling them for $140 a point. Well, if you're buying $140 a point, it might sound more attractive, but if they've already used this year's and borrowed next year's and used them, well, now you have 2 years you can't use DVC. So is that worth the extra $10 a point? I don't know, is it? It's up to you. So we do have one direct contract, which was a whopping 30 points. And then we have 2 resale contracts. And the 30-point contract that we bought direct was so we could get those benefits we mentioned.
But that was because at the time,
25 was the minimum you could buy from Disney, and there was no minimum to get the perks. So Disney caught on to this because a lot of people, what they were doing was what we did, which was buy a couple hundred points on the resale market and then buy 30 points on the direct from Disney, and then you get all the perks of like the discounted annual pass, and you don't care about not being able to use an RCI because, like I said, for us that's not a good idea. So then Disney caught on to it and decided to,
like as soon as
literally we
signed a contract
days after,
we were like, whoa.
Yeah, and they upped it, I think, to 50 points as a minimum, and then again to 75, and I don't know if that's still 75 or it's gone up again. But now the minimum to buy to qualify for the perks directly from Disney is 75. So we paid an extra, let's say, $2,700 to buy that small direct contract from Disney versus on the resale market. And that $2,700, I mean, we save, it's got to be at least $500 a year in annual passes. So making up that $2,700 isn't that hard. Nowadays, you'd be looking at trying to save closer to like $7,500. To some people, status is very important. And I don't mean status as in like, you know, feeling powerful, but like you want to be able to go to the DVC Lounge. You think it's a cool thing. You want to be able to go to Moonlight Magic because it's a cool thing. So maybe to you that's worth it. Ashley just mentioned a really good point while I was stopping and starting the camera.
Thank you.
Which was, let's say you want 300 points. Do you want multiple contracts to get that 300 points? Do you want just one contract of 300 points? Again, it's up to you. But I will say that when you go on the resale market to find a 300 point contract, they are much cheaper per point than a 100 point contract is. You're gonna pay more per point for a 100 point contract than you are a 300 point contract because not everybody's looking for 300 points. But people have in the community what we refer to as add-on-itis, which means you always want to add more points. So if you're sitting there going like, you know, I just need a little bit more, I'm gonna go buy 50 points. 50 points on the resale market is actually pretty expensive per point. 300 points on the resale market, not expensive per point. Well, less expensive per point. I mean, just think about it as a car, right? How many people are buying Lamborghinis and how many people are buying Toyota Corollas? I'm guaranteeing you there's a lot more Corollas going off the lot than Lamborghinis. Let's say you like, I wanna buy 7 Toyota Corollas instead of 1 Lamborghini.
Right, right.
Now, I don't know why you would need 7 Toyota Corollas unless, and this is where it gets even more complicated.
You have 7 kids?
You have 7 kids.
I knew you were going in that direction.
So, for example, if we want to eventually leave Dennis and Lee our DVC points, let's say we have a 200 point contract. We cannot take 100 points of that contract and give it to Lee and 100 points of that contract and give it to Dennis.
But it has to be fair.
So if we had 2 100 point contracts, we could give out that one of them to Dennis and one of them to Lee. But we cannot split a big contract. So some people will also, if they have multiple kids, have multiple contracts so they can bequeath them.
But they both could be on this contract?
I believe so. Not 100%
so
sure on this again.
As long as your kids get along?
Right.
It could work out?
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they get along and, you know, they work together.
You're like your big brother, don't you? Getting through this list, but there's still quite a bit.
We've talked about all the different resorts you can buy from. Key is, where do you buy? And that's important because at Contemporary Bay Lake Tower, you're gonna pay a different number of dollars per point than you're gonna pay at Saratoga Springs. A lot of people will buy in at Saratoga Springs where the going rate is $100 a point. So on the resale market, and I'm gonna talk only resale because to me, my opinion, you can get way more bang from your buck going on the resale market. $100 a point for Saratoga Springs gets you into the DVC community, whereas $145 a point gets you in at Bay Lake Tower now. These are all approximate numbers. Let's say you want to buy 500 points, and you don't care where you stay DVC-wise, but you want to buy 500 points. Well, then buy at Saratoga Springs because you're only going to pay $100 a point as opposed to $145 a point at Bay Lake Tower. That's a big difference in dollars per point. The other thing you need to keep in mind is the annual dues at these resorts are all different. But for 140 points per year at Bay Lake Tower, you pay $921 in dues, where you pay $947 at Saratoga Springs. So that's an extra $26 a year. So if the points were very similar and one of them had a much different, their annual dues costs, you would want to take that into consideration. Like, okay, you're gonna save $1,000 now, but you're gonna pay $300 more every year. That's not really a good decision. So why does it matter where you buy? Because you can book your home resort, so which for us is Bay Lake Tower, 11 months in advance. But we can't book any of the other resorts until 7 months in advance. You may say, well, most people don't book their resorts that far in advance, their vacations that far in advance. They do with DVC because you have to. For us, if you want to stay at Bay Lake Tower, we have to book that 11, 10 months in advance because it books up. The moment that 7-month window hits, all those people from Saratoga Springs Old Key West, all those people that may want to now stay at Bay Lake Tower are now booking at Bay Lake Tower, and Bay Lake Tower is gone.
Yeah. So again, is it worth it if you're someone that likes to do last minute trips?
Yeah.
DVC might not be for you.
And if you're someone who, but like we said, if you're someone who doesn't care where you stay, you can get a resort 7 months in advance. So if you're gonna buy in Saratoga and you're like, I don't care if I stay at Beach Club, Boardwalk, Animal Kingdom, I'm really happy with any of those, then maybe staying at Saratoga is right for you, because at that 7 month window, you see what's available and you book one of them.
But for us, it was always Bay Lake.
Always Bay Lake, especially at this point in our kids' lives when we can walk to Magic Kingdom. Now maybe someday we're gonna wanna stay at Boardwalk. If that's the case, if our kids love Epcot, then we're gonna have to hope it's available at the 7 month window. DVC offers a ton of flexibility and no flexibility. It is all in one, right? Because it's a timeshare that offers so much flexibility in the type of room you stay in, the time of year you go, what hotel you stay at, all that incredibly flexible. However, last minute bookings, booking at the, and by last minute, DVC last minute can be like 4 months or less. Like obviously if you have to change your dates of your trip, you may not be able to find anything, or you might have to really settle for, usually Saratoga's the last one to fill up, or Old Key West, I think, one of those two. The one other thing the DVC offers is waitlisting. Let's say you log on 9 months in advance, and you say, I want to stay at Bay Lake Tower, and it's all booked up. You go, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to waitlist it. So do this all on the app or on the phone. If somebody cancels, you book automatically, magically, Disney says. People have a lot of success with waitlists around the 7 month window, because what happens is, let's say you own at Saratoga Springs or Animal Kingdom Lodge or Boardwalk, but you really want to stay at the Polynesian Bungalows. What you do is you book at your home resort 11 months in advance for the week you want to go. Then, when your 7 month window hits, you switch your resort to Polynesian, which means your points now opened up. So let's say you were staying at the Boardwalk and it's food and wine season, and everybody wants to stay at the Boardwalk during food and wine season because you can walk to Epcot. You've just opened up at somebody's clearly waitlisted that because everybody wants that. So once you go to book at Animal Kingdom because you really want to see the animals this trip, somebody's going to be really happy because their waitlist will come through. Ooh, there's so much with my hands. All right, we're winding down here. I hope, I don't know, we just had to switch the battery, so hopefully we didn't move the camera too much as to where it was. We just jumped. Boom. Couple more things you need to know. If you decide to buy on the resale market, you need to go through a process called right of first refusal. This can be very stressful and it can make the resale process take a lot longer than buying directly from Disney.
It can be a little heartbreaking.
Yeah. If you buy a contract directly from Disney, it's a very quick process. If you buy it on the resale market, it can take 2-3 months to process the whole ordeal. Disney has 30 days to exercise their right of first refusal. What is that? That means that if I have a contract for $15,000 that me and Ashley agree on for me selling it to her, Disney can step in and say, that's great, you want to sell it to Ashley, Joe, but we're going to actually buy it for that exact same price. Thank you very much, Ashley, you get nothing. Good day, go home, goodbye.
Good day.
Yes, you get nothing. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. Basically, as a buyer, that can be really difficult. But as a seller, you don't really care. Actually, you really enjoy the fact that there's a right of first refusal, because what right of first refusal does is it puts a floor on the resale market. Huh? What? What's that mean? If Disney says, I'm gonna buy back everything at Bay Lake Tower, $140 or less per point, that means if Ashley wants to buy it from me, she needs to offer $141 a point. She can't come in and go, 90 bucks, take it or leave it. And I have to go, okay, here you go. Because no one's gonna buy it. No, I wouldn't sell it to her, because somebody else is gonna come offer 141 because they don't wanna pay the $230 to Disney or whatever it is. So they'll offer me 141 or 145 or 150. The problem is, when you're a buyer, you don't know where Disney is willing to exercise their right of first refusal and not. It's really, I'm sure there's some formulas behind it. I don't know if anybody knows what it is. I haven't been able to find anything that says what it is. From my guesses, pure guesses, Disney is far less likely to exercise right of first refusal on a stripped contract because they can't sell it for like a year. Just so why would they want to buy it up, lose the cash, and invest it in this inventory they can't sell? I would think they're more likely to buy non-stripped contracts. However, the contract we bought was fully loaded at a very nice point, and Disney did not exercise their right of first refusal. We were fully expecting it. I almost didn't even bother putting in an offer on it because I thought, I'm just wasting my time because, just why waste my time when Disney's gonna exercise their right of first refusal? That they didn't, so yeah. If you're not in a rush to get the points and you're just trying to add on so that you can build up, it's not a bad idea to go around offering some low amounts, and if people exercise the right of first refusal, okay, you get your deposit back and you move on and start over again.
When it happens, you have no idea. So if you're thinking you're like got the 28 days, you're like, there's 2 days left.
30 days.
There's 2 days left. I'm pretty sure I got this. We had a friend who had this experience, and on the 30-day mark,
Disney exercised their right of first refusal.
But then us, they were like, a weekend?
Yeah, a weekend. They were like, nah, we're good, we're waiving it.
See you later.
And I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, so again, that can be at a real high level of stress. If you're trying to get points really quick, resale can be tough for that. But again, worth is a 3-month wait, or 3 months or 2 months that it takes longer. Is that worth $30,000 to you of higher cost, $20,000, whatever however many points you're buying? I mean, it's up to you. Use years are actually really, really important when you have multiple contracts, because we have contracts at Bay Lake Tower, all have a February use year.
I didn't know that. Good job, Joe.
That's what I made sure, because we can pool all those points together at any given time for any booking. However, if we had a February use year and an April use year, you literally have to go through what's called a transfer process, and you can only do it once per year per contract. So let's say I have 100 points. Let's say I have 5 contracts, all different resorts, right? And I have this one contract to Saratoga Springs, and I'm like, well, I want to give 50 of those points to this resort and 50 of those points to this resort. Wrong, can't. You can only transfer once out of your Saratoga Springs per year. It's very confusing. It's very simple to have one use year, one resort. The more use years, the more resorts you add, way more complicated. For some people that works though. For us it doesn't, and it adds way too much complexity to it. I would miss my banking dates because I'd forget about them, and it would just be a,
So I have a question then.
Okay.
Do you regret doing it, or are you very happy?
I'm very happy we did it.
It has worked for us.
Let me preface all this by saying I'm not getting into the time value of money. That is a whole nother complexity to add to discuss with people. The basis behind it being $100,000 you spend today on DVC, you would be gaining interest and you could be making returns on investments, you know, over the course of time. And $100,000 today is not worth the same as $100,000 20 years from now, and blah, 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 blah. Way more complicated than I think most people. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. But you also need to make some assumptions on what you think is going to happen to a bunch of different things, right? One, how much do you think dues are going to go up every year? I mean, do you think that a steady 3% increase? Like, you should do the math. When we bought in, I put a spreadsheet together, which I since lost. But basically what I did...
What?
What?
That was epic.
It said like the... Yeah, I don't know where it went.
Wow.
But what it did was it said, all right, this is the amount. I didn't get into the time value of money. So let's say, I'm just making up numbers here. $50,000 is the upfront cost for DVC. And then you say, okay, it's gonna be $1,000 a year, the first year in dues. How much do I think they're gonna be the second year? I'm gonna say a 3% increase, and then another 3% increase. And let's say you just do that all the way down, right? And then you kind of build a cumulative line and say, right, this was the upfront cost, and after 2 years, this is what it's cost me total. After 3 years, this is what it has cost me total. After 4 years, this is what it has cost me total. And you're gonna have to make assumptions on how much you think DVC dues are gonna increase. Then what you do is you would say, well, and this is what I did, and maybe this is not the right way to do things. Maybe you think it's not right, but this is the way we justified it in our heads. Was this is what it would cost me for a 1 week for the same number of points that we had, let's say. 1 bedroom DVC villa at Bay Lake Tower for 1 week, buying directly directly through Disney, like for their hotel. But then what you have to take in mind is, I don't remember the last time Disney ever made people pay rack rate, right? What you need to do is assume some sort of discount is going to come out. What that is, it's up to you. Disney's offered as low as 20%, 10%, but they've also offered, I mean, we went 1 year and I think it was like 40% off of deluxe hotels. Who knows what it's going to be? Is it going to be 40%, 30%? You need to figure that out for yourself. But you take the rack rate, assume you're going to get a certain percentage off, and then you got to assume hotel prices are going to increase every year too. Is it going to be the same, more, less than DVC dues? I don't know. You got to make some assumption on that. And then you do the same thing and say, after 1 year, after 2 years, it cost me, after 3 years, it cost me, and then you keep going down. And then you look at those side by side, and at some point, the DVC is going to be lower than the upfront cost of, or the hotel cost. It's not going to be at first because you have that big slug of investment up front. I mean, maybe the correct number is 8 years. Maybe the correct number is not till 12 years or 14 years. I made some assumptions based off how much I thought dues were going to go up. All of this is assuming you're going to buy your contract cash. Financing it is a whole different story. It's in essence putting your trip on a credit card. Not really, but I mean, really it is, right? Because you're financing your vacations the same way as a credit card would finance your annual vacation. That adds a whole layer of cost to it. I'm not going to get into that.
So if you're like me, your husband takes care of the finances because he was in finance as a career. A lot of this may have been overwhelming. But it should be overwhelming because it's a big decision. It's a lot of money, and that's why we in no way want to say yes or no, DVC is worth it. If someone is just saying it without any explanation, you should be maybe a little worried. It's really something you have to be incredibly informed about, consider all the variables, consider where your life is going and all the unknowns of that, which of course, you know, at some point you do have to live. You can't think of all the unknowns, but and just make the decision that you really think is best for you and your family.
I know people who've bought in because they know that if they don't buy into DVC, they will find a way to not take a vacation some years. They'll make an excuse as to why they can't. This forces them, now that they have the points, to go on an annual vacation. For some people, the reason they're not going is because they're workaholics. And they're like, no, I'm not going to take any time off work. For other people, the reason they're not going is, I know you're now forcing yourself to go into debt. Or that's maybe not a good decision, but if it's forcing you to take time off work that you're already getting, maybe it is a good decision. Maybe you're, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons. But if it's worth it, again, no answer. For us, it has been incredibly worth it. We've made a lot of memories at Bay Lake Tower, and that's something that's worth it to us. Lee gets to see the monorail from his rooms. That is worth it for us.
Do you think Dennis will like the monorail?
I hope so.
Anything like your brother.
Being able to walk to Magic Kingdom, like, you know, when we were there those days and you were able to go walk back to the Magic Kingdom while I brought Lee back for Netflix. You came back, ate lunch with us, and then we'd go back to walk around Magic Kingdom. Unless you're at Disney your entire life or live in Florida and like you can go whenever you want, we can only go so many days a year. So making every minute of those vacations count is worth something to us. It's a lot of information. We hope we answered a lot of questions that people have asked us throughout the years. We probably missed a lot of information or answering of questions. But I guess if you have any questions more, you can comment below. Yeah. And we'll do our best to answer them.
And if you have an experience as a DVC member, please comment below as well.
Yeah, why it's worked or hasn't worked for you.
And then again, if any of this is confusing or you are not confident in your finances, it's probably best to talk to a financial specialist. What do they call themselves?
Financial advisor?
Financial advisor.
I don't know many financial advisors who would ever tell someone to get involved in a timeshare. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Remember, not all timeshares have an end date. There's a lot of negativity around timeshares because at some point they become a liability to you. Like as in, the dues are now $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year. You're not getting $4,000 of benefit out of it, and when you die, this debt is going to pass on to your children, and it's just never going to go away. That's why we see a lot of timeshares being given away. Disney's timeshares end. Sounds like a bad thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It helps them keep value because at some point, if there's only so long the herd can go on, if that ever becomes a thing. A lot of timeshares are very poorly run. Disney has a reputation to stake itself on. One other reason that I liked getting into DVC, I think some point fast passes are going to be dependent on whether you're staying in a value, a deluxe, or a moderate resort. Maybe I'm wrong. Just a hunch I have that you'll get more fast passes for staying at a deluxe resort, less fast passes for staying at a value resort.
Don't give Disney ideas.
I'm sure they already have that idea. I just seeing the way everything else is going, I think that's the next logical step for them. I don't like it. I think it's starts treating guests differently. But now being locked in as a DVC member, now you're a deluxe. On the flip side, let's say they decide to start charging for fast passes and nobody gets them for free. Now we're stuck with this timeshare at this place that we don't really want to go because we don't want to pay for the fast passes. So many different things to consider. Or like if all of a sudden Disney increases park ticket prices tomorrow 300%. Well, if you've stuck around with us, thanks for bearing with us till the bare end. Is that what he says?
Thanks for bearing with us to the bare end. Somebody came to say hello.
Oh, stretch.
What do you think about all this, Dennis?
You've never been to Disney, huh? Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We hope you got some clarity around DVC and why we made the decisions we made. And we can't wait to bring this little guy someday. But until next time, see you real soon.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
I know. Well, for you, especially your arm
My
and
mouth's so
hands.
dry.
Yeah, I felt very calm. I was just like, I'm just gonna have little tidbits here and there, but he's carrying this thing.
Yeah, I drew up a lot of things.
That was awesome. You really, it just shows like how much, yeah, you looked into this and considered, which is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Hi, Dennis. Hi, Dennis. Let me go, you sweetheart. I'm in love with you.